Thus we might imagine that the image of the runaway Paul sharpens the irony of the contrast with the braggart warrior. So in boasting about these things that people would not normally boast about, Paul's goal is to get the Corinthians to laugh and mock at him to the point that they realize that boasting is a ridiculous activity and not worthy of true apostleship. And then Paul makes another rhetorical turn. So I will boast all the more gladly of my weaknesses, so that the power of Christ may dwell in me. Therefore I am content with weaknesses, insults, hardships, persecutions, and calamities for the sake of Christ. For whenever I am weak, then I am strong. Paul acted like a fool in order to expose the Corinthians' own foolishness. But just like the fool in King Lear, Paul's foolishness is actually the truth. It is so often the clown who ends up saying the really profound thing. So think Gracie Allen this time. Her innocent foolishness initially deceives the audience, who ultimately recognize the wisdom that she embodies. Paul is saying that if you really live like Jesus, people will think you are a fool. Because Jesus' power was revealed on the cross in the giving of himself to others. And that's why Paul lists all these moments of suffering on behalf of other people and on the gospel, because it is these which bring him in solidarity with Jesus. The power of Christ dwells with him precisely because he is weak. Well, the idea of the fool for Christ has been taken to its extreme in the Russian Orthodox Church, where a number of saints have earned the title Fool for Christ, or Eurodivy in Russian. In the Russian Orthodox Church, Eurodivies hold an esteemed place. Wikipedia describes it thus. The Eurodivy is a holy fool, one who acts intentionally foolish in the eyes of men. He or she often goes around half naked, is homeless, speaks in riddles, is believed to be clairvoyant and a prophet, and may occasionally be disruptive and challenging to the point of seeming immorality, though always natural. The most famous of the Eurodivies is St. Basil. Basil was born in around the year 1468 to serfs, the lowest social class there in Tsarist Russia. At 16, he became an ascetic. He decided to go around naked, which really must be a challenge in Russia, weighed down with chains. Many miracles and prophecies are recorded of him, including sparing Moscow from invasion, stopping a disastrous fire in the city of Novgorod. But he's also known for directly challenging the Tsar, who just so happened to be Ivan the Terrible, not someone with a reputation of taking criticism kindly from other people. So why would Ivan the Terrible endure the rebukes of this naked man running around in Moscow? It was because Basil was foolish in the eyes of humankind, and there's this tradition of that representing holiness, that Ivan was afraid that Basil truly was a holy man, and therefore would never defy him, but would take the criticism. Well, Basil lasted to 88 years of age, again, despite being naked in Russia. And the Tsar himself was one of the pallbearers. And today, that beautiful church which sits on Moscow's Red Square, one of the most recognizable buildings in the world, commemorates St. Basil, the fool for Christ. Now, of course, there are less extreme examples. This week, David Disbrow and I were at the annual DBA pool party, which every year provides some illustration for its sermon. Well, we got into conversation with one of the other members about the current economic crisis. He was upset about the bailouts of companies and the use of his money for those who had been greedy. When I pointed out that it was exactly this individualistic attitude that had led to the economic crisis to begin with, and that even though none of us might like the bailouts, We have to change our understanding and get away from thinking individualistically about what is ours, and instead thinking about community and society, and that we all rise and fall together. And then when I said that it was the highest expression of humanity to give of ourselves on behalf of others, and most particularly to those who do not deserve it, he looked at me like I was a fool. Because indeed I am. Because if we live as Jesus has called us to live, then we live in such a way that we do look and sound foolish to other people. And there's a deep theological reason in which we do this. Because this world is really messed up. And so we want to live in a radically different way than the way this world is. Because we want to live according to God's will for creation. Well, in tonight's gospel, Jesus sends out his followers in pairs in order to evangelize throughout Galilee. He tells them to take nothing for their journey except a staff, no bread, no bag, no money in their belts, but to wear sandals, and not even to put on 2 tunics. The historical Jesus scholar John Dominic Crossan has transformed my thinking about the early Jesus movement precisely because of how he treats this particular passage. He writes that because they take nothing with them, these pairs must start new every morning and must connect intimately with people every day. These disciples are not sent out to cities, to large stadiums or arenas, but to people's homes, and probably peasant homes. Crossan writes that they share a miracle in the kingdom and they receive in return a table in the house. Their very survival depends upon the hospitality of the people to whom they are ministering. Therefore, the peasant they encounter, they must meet not as a braggart, a boaster, a glory seeker, but with the humility of one who must beg for their own meal and a roof over their head. The early Jesus movement rejected all forms of status and claimed that everyone was equal, meeting at the common table. And this is made all more poignant here in Mark 6, because the chapter opens with Jesus being dismissed from Nazareth because he is the bastard. And as Joe pointed out in our study right before, you might miss that he is called the son of Mary and not the son of Joseph in that text, making it very clear that for the people in his hometown, his questionable birth was well known. No hospitality had been afforded Jesus, but he was not bitter, and instead offered in return a radical hospitality in which all, no matter their history or their background, would be equal. So I'm sure that the people thought that he and his followers were fools, and if they paid enough attention, like Ivan the Terrible did to Basil, then they may have soon realized that they were no fools at all. That these folk really had a truth and a power that everyone else could only dream of. True foolishness would be to accept the world the way it is. And God has something better in store for us. And so may we all be like St. Paul and boast all the more gladly in our weakness, so that the power of Christ may dwell upon us. For whenever we are weak, then we are strong.